This is just a little walkthrough of the new Microsoft Power BI analysis reports that Capita have put together. They've put together for us a set of routines that will take the data out of your SIMS database, and they've provided these example Microsoft Power BI analyses to show you the kind of thing you can do with them. But bear in mind, all this is configurable so that it can match what your school needs. This is a secondary school analysis, and Capita provided example analyses both for primaries, secondaries, and also maths. This is the first page, so as you'd expect, it has a lot of headline measures on here. So along the top here, we've got the student numbers today. We've got the number of pupils on pupil premium. F and T refer to false and true. So 815 of our pupils are not on pupil premium, 142 are on pupil premium. And then we've got the SEN counts down the side. First one is a blank one here, so they're not SEN, K codes, N codes, and E codes. Then it's got a line here that shows all the ethnicities present in school. This is a very diverse school, as you can tell. Here it's got what Power BI calls slicers. These are basically ways of filtering the data you can see in the graphs on this screen, so that if we want to see just the girls, we can click on the girls there, and then the graphs redisplay and the numbers change because now we're just seeing the girls. Or if we want to see the boys, we can do that. And the same applies for EAL codes. So if we want to pick out the EAL pupils, so now we're seeing the boys who are EAL and all their averages, we can do. If you want to deselect one of these, you just click it again, or you click the little rubber, I think that's a rubber there, you can just click on that and that takes the selections off. There's also a little drop down slicer here so that we could pick out one of the ethnicity codes. These individual graphs, we can expand them to the full screen if we wish by clicking that button there. So this takes us to the full screen. These are all the different year groups and the number of pupils that we have in each year group. Let's get rid of that. And we've got a set of icons at the top here that tell us how we can drill down into this graph. So first of all, here we've got a little symbol here, which in that state indicates that drill down is turned off. If we click it again, now it means that drill down is turned on. So that means that if I double click on any of these columns, it takes me a level deeper. And in this case, a level deeper is the registration group. I think that's as far as we can go with these. Can't drill down any further. So we could drill back up by clicking on the up arrow key, and that takes us back to the original view. We've got an option here. If we click on that option, that takes us to sort of an expanded view, so we see the individual registration groups going across there, and the numbers, again, of pupils in each one. If I go back up, back to this original level, and I think this button here does much the same thing. Again, it takes us down and expands the analysis about as far as it will go. These are numbers of pupils. If we want to see who those pupils are, we can right click on any of these columns, and there are options there to see the records. Click on see records, so that tells me who those 10 pupils are. We click on back to report here, and then back to the whole level report, but notice the pupil numbers today are stayed in the same format. If I want to, I could drill up again and go back to the original format. So this is page 1 of 12. Let's have a look at the next page. So here we've got an attendance tab, and it gives us the headline figure of attendance for the whole school. And then we've got the attendance percentages for the year groups. And these graphs have got colours on them, conditional colours, to indicate when they've fallen below a particular percentage. So there is a percentage built into these to turn them red. Must be about below 97% or something like that, turns them red. And then you've got the same overall attendance figure broken down into the different vulnerable groups within the school, so you can have a look for any important gaps or any important differences. We've got two slices on this screen, so we could have a look at a particular ethnicity, or we could look at the pupils in LA Care. Another way perhaps of looking at the attendance figures here is to click or double click on one of the year groups here. So if I think it's a double click, double clicking on year group 8 there, first of all drills us down so we can see all the registration groups in year group 8, but it's also changed the figures here to just reflect the year 8 pupils. So now these dials here refer to year 8 pupils. You can also see here, I didn't show it a moment ago, but here's a persistent absence report. So it's filtering down now to just year 8s because we filtered earlier, and the red pupils there are the pupils who are persistent absentees. If I go back to my original view by using this drill up button, you can see we're back on the original view. And like I say, we also have this graph down here, which highlights who the persistent absentees are, or more importantly, where there's a problem. So clearly in year 11, where we have got 32 persistent absentees, which is 20% of the whole, we've got a problem there that we need to address. And there's a pie chart showing us a count of the whole school, what percentage are persistent absentees. Move on to the next tab. This is an achievement one. So achievement points are positive points. So not all schools use the achievement system in SIMS, but if you do, this is the kind of graph you can come up with. This is called a tree map, this particular graph, and the sizes of the rectangles here obviously represent the number of points that pupils have achieved for excellent effort, outstanding work, academic achievement, sporting representation, and the last one there, if I hover the mouse, is a gold award, whatever that is. And we can also see a timeline approach here, week by week. These are weeks at the bottom. How many points have been earned in each week? And maybe I wouldn't be too happy with that as a school. You can see the dotted line represents the overall trend. Then we've got some slices at the bottom. Looking at this, as a default, we're looking at boys. Take the filter off there, and now we're looking at boys and girls. Let's look at girls if I do that. You can take the slicer off by clicking again. Got a slicer there for pupil premium. Also, we could pick out a particular year group in school. So if we just want to look at the year 10s, there's the year 10s. There's the year 9s and 10s together, so we can aggregate them. There's 7, 8 and 9. And we could exclude the 11s from that if we think we have a particular problem with year 11. And then we could analyse just year 11 on its own, like that. And we could also drill down by subject. Because this is test data, we don't have all the subjects down there. We've just got maths and 2 others. But that's the achievement points awarded by our maths teachers. And if you wanted to, go back to select all there. And we could pick out an individual teacher too. So if we want to see how many points this particular teacher has given, there's the profile of the points he's handed out, and there's the type of points he's given. Next tab along here is the behaviour tab. So these are negative things that are disruptive, homework not handed in, etc. And you'll see the tree map again coming into its own here, the relative sizes of those squares representing how many points have been penalised, as it were, for those particular disruptive behaviours. And again, the overall trend is down, so I suppose that's a positive thing, although it could just reflect that people aren't entering behaviour points into the system. And we've got the same slices at the bottom. Okay, I'll move on to the next tab, if you like. This is Key Stage 3 attainment. So in this example, what I'm showing here are the programmer study mark sheets, data from the programmer study mark sheets. So this is looking at reading, the understanding strand of reading, and the individual statements from the national curriculum relating back to the programmer study mark sheets. And you can see we've got percentages of pupils who are emerging, developing, secure, and mastered. We can actually choose different aspects if we want, because we've got a multiple selections option here. And you'll see all the programmer study aspects are available here. And we can add to this if we wish to, or take away from it. I'm just going to show one particular strand, and it's the reading overall aspect. So here's reading, understanding overall. So this is one strand from reading, and you can see in green we have the pupils who are 7E, then pupils who are 7D, 7S, and 7M. Well, this is on the screen. It's a useful illustration of what we can do in terms of drilling down with these buttons up here. So I've got the drill down button on there. I'll come back to that in a minute. But if we use this one, this goes to the next level in the hierarchy. And the next level in the hierarchy here looks at the individual registration groups in year 7. So the original view here was looking at the whole of year 7. We know that because 7 is highlighted there, the year total code. And if we press this button, we get all the registration groups. And if we press it again, it gives us the teachers. So we've got three levels, if you like, of analysis there. We can go back up one level and back up another level there. Now this toggles off and toggles on. If I toggle it off and click, it just focuses in on one of the bands there. If I toggle it on and click, again, it expands it so that we get the individual registration groups appearing down there. I think that's as far as that one goes. But if we click on it again takes us down to an individual teacher. Other than that, we've got all the usual slices down at the bottom, and we've got a set of result sets here, so we can choose to look at different terms of information. Now, I think because of the test data I've got on there, nothing really exciting happens when I click on these other options. But don't forget, if you want to, you can show as many or as few of these aspects as you want. We'll just concentrate on year 7 autumn term. We can select them all or deselect them. If we select them all, we should get a graph that shows them all, but I think I need to go up a whole level first. There we go. So if we want to, that's a useful format. You can have every single aspect showing. And for an overall picture, that might not be too bad as a format, but you do soon have to double click on one of these and zoom in on it, which you can do relatively easily. But yeah, that's Key Stage 3 attainment. Move on to the next one. Now we're picking up the Key Stage 4 threshold measures, and it does this by creating a link with the Key Stage 4 resources. If you have the Key Stage 4 resources installed, they are a set of aspects and mark sheets that automatically calculate things like attainment 8 and performance 8. Also calculates all these other measures. Has the pupil achieved the English Baccalaureate? Has a pupil taken all the English Baccalaureate subjects? Have they taken English literature? Have they passed English and maths? All these kind of yes/no kind of measures are represented here, and of course the red ones indicate pupils who haven't achieved it, and the green ones achieve the pupils who have achieved it. And again, you can choose a particular term and look at different data depending on the different terms. Let's stick with year 10 summer term. And again, you can choose boys and girls. There's the girls. There's the boys. Take those off. And get pupil premium indicators. And I hadn't realised that I've left the Key Stage 2 prior attainment on there from the last time I was in this particular analysis. So that reflects the whole year group. Take those indicators off. You can play around with these as much as you need to do. There's all the ethnicity groups. Date of admission before allows you to exclude pupils who've only recently come into school if you don't want them to appear in this analysis. So moving on to the next screen, this is the Key Stage 4. Again, it's using the Key Stage 4 resources and information that's coming directly out of the Key Stage 4 resources. This first one looks at the headline Progress 8 measure. So this is plus 0.14 for this particular school. Here's the average attainment 8 figure, 3.78. And there's the back figure, 3.25. And then it divides it up into English, Maths, Science, Humanities, Languages, and the open category. And again, we've got some slices down here that enable us to look at different terms, different year groups potentially. I've only got year 11 on this one, but potentially different year groups as well. And all the usual indicators that we've seen on previous analyses. Moving on to the next one, here we're comparing assessment and attendance. So along the top, we've got the Progress 8 measures here. Overall Progress 8, average Progress 8, English and Maths. And then we've got some persistence absence figures here. So here we've got the number of persistent absentees in year 10 and the number of persistent absentees in year 11. And if I click on the persistent absentees in year 11 there, this now becomes filtered So it's just picking up the results for this 20% of pupils in year 11. And we can compare those with the better attending group there. And we'll see that actually the poor attending pupils are doing slightly better. Again, one of the limitations perhaps of test data. In year 10, we can see there is a more noticeable positive effect in our best attenders than there is in our poorest attenders. Moving on to the next one. So here we've got Key Stage 4 attainment and progress over time. And this is looking term by term from year 10 autumn term, year 10 spring term, year 10 summer term, and year 11 autumn term. So each of these different factors. So again, this goes back 2 or 3 slides earlier. We saw all these factors put into a bar chart. Well, here they are put into a line chart, so we can see how these change over time. This is just showing me year 11s. That's showing me year 10s. Obviously, I've only got 1 term of the data in for year 10. I could, if I wanted to, just show the high achievers, or just show the low achievers. Then you can use all the other slices on this screen as before. The next one is Key Stage 4 progress by subject. So we're looking at the individual subjects for Key Stage 4. We can see our English department has had a particularly bad year with their progress 8 figure being a negative one. We can drill down into this one. So let's see what happens if we drill down into English. Well, nothing there because we haven't enabled the drill down button. If we enable the drill down button, drill down into English, we can see here are the teaching groups in English, and as the way that negative figure has been built up in English was by these individual teaching groups. Let's see if we can drill any further. Or we drill down into that one individual teachers group down there. Let's go back up and up again. See what happens when we press this one. This one goes down into and expands it into all the separate teaching groups here. So we've got every teaching group in every subject listed here. The English ones at the end. Go back up. And this one does much the same thing. But again, we've got the usual slices down here so we can analyze it via all these different mechanisms. So look at the next slide. Here we've got a couple of financial ones that Capita have put in on this demo. So we're looking at year 10 summer term. The first thing to notice here, we've got art, English, French. But here we've got spend against the budget. So this is budgeted spend. And you see art here. The size of the balloons here represents the size of the spend. So art spent nearly £3,000, whereas French only spent £86.65 per pupil. Art managed a progress 8 figure of 0.33, whereas the French department on a much smaller budget managed 0.58. And the next and final analysis looks at progress against spend per pupil. So you'll see here the art budget spent £490 per pupil to achieve their 0.33 progress 8 figure. And the French department spent £12.94 per pupil to achieve their 0.58 positive progress 8 figure. So an interesting set of analyses there. I think the thing to bear in mind is that all this is configurable. So you can set these analyses up to suit your school. What Capita provided us with, that's most important, I think, is a mechanism for extracting data from your system, from your SIMS system, and presenting it in the right format to make these analyses possible. The analyses are pretty straightforward, but don't forget all assessment systems tend to be different from another school's assessment systems. So you probably again spend most time configuring your assessment system analyses than you do for all the other analyses, which are much more standardized. But certainly worth looking at, and Capita are developing this on an ongoing basis, so we await further developments.